Greetings, everyone. This is Richard Solomon taking care of business live from the downtown village of Huntington in Suffolk County, New York. Welcome to our show. We are at Neraki, and you want to check out Neraki.com. That's beautiful Greek music in the background. That should give you an idea that we're actually at a phenomenal Greek restaurant. I happen to be of Greek descent, so I happen to know the food intimately, and these people really, really, really know how to do a good job. So grab a pen. If you're going to want a reservation, 631-385-FISH. 631-385-FISH. Okay, so to welcome our show, we have Alex Moshos, right?
Correct.
Hey, I said it right. There you go. So it's good to start the show on a good foot. We just had an amazing array of food. But before we get into all the delicious food, tell us a little bit about yourself, your Greek background, how long the restaurant's been here, and what you guys love to cook.
Well, we've been in Huntington Village for 2.5 years now. Our restaurant specializes in traditional Greek-style cooking, but one thing that we really specialize in is seafood. I go to the Hunts Point Market 3 times a week. I pick out all my own fish, my own vegetables, and my own meats. The recipes that we follow in here basically are all family recipes that have been passed down from my grandmother, from my wife's father and his family, and also my uncle, Ilya, who owns Ilya's Corner in Astoria.
I happen to that. I've gone there many a time. Yeah.
So we really try and stick to the traditional way of Greek cooking, which is very simple and healthy. The food speaks for itself. You don't have to hide the food in sauces and things like
salts.
that. We stick really lemon, olive oil, oregano, herbs and spices. Very simple preparation, but it comes out that the food just speaks to you when it's on your plate. You really see what you're eating, you taste what you're eating, and it's a sensory overload because it's just awesome the way things are prepared in the Greek traditional way.
I've done a lot of shows about food, but I can see that you have an incredible passion for food. I can just see it. It's your eyes light up and your body language. Where did that passion come from?
Well, I've been very lucky and blessed to have had many family members own businesses in the restaurant industry. My great uncle, who brought most of my family, my mother's family here to this country, owned a few restaurants in Manhattan and nightclubs, Greek nightclubs that specialized in bouzouki music. And as a young kid, I remember going there and sleeping in the coat room while all my parents were enjoying themselves and having great nightlife and living up life to its fullest, because the Greek community is very vibrant.
Absolutely. Very festive.
Music loving,
food.
dancing, food. So everything in my life kind of revolved around that. And especially Greek Easter, holidays, we would always have 20, 30 people over, and everyone would be bringing different types of food to the table, and people would be preparing food at their house and bringing it to our house, or preparing food at our house. And one of the most incredible holidays to really enjoy with the Greek community is Greek Easter. And those are some of the most memorable days of my life.
Isn't the signature dish the bread with the egg in it or something like that?
Oh, well, what we do is we do that, and they put a coin in it, and you slice it up. And, it's one of the traditional dishes that's allowed served during Christmas. And what we do with that is we cut up the bread, and the person who gets the coin gets the luck for the year. So
wow.
It's a nice tradition.
So you bring your own metal detector to the table?
Yeah, we try to. But they sometimes put plastic coins, so we can't do that. So they've learned the tricks of the trade. The grandmas and the aunts and uncles, they hide the coin pretty well.
Wow. So just tell me a little bit. Growing up, you had all this whole family. When did you say to yourself, I'm going to get into the business too?
Well, I've always been around the business. I never really worked it as a young man, but when I was in college, I was around the business. What I did was I actually started working in bars, nightclubs, and things like that, because I was around it, and it was a good way to make extra money. And I saw that I really enjoyed it. I loved it. And so what I did was I went and worked at my uncle's restaurant, Ilya's Corner in Astoria. and I worked as a waiter and a busboy and really learned the business there. But I was in college. I actually went to Hofstra University, and I studied there, but I pursued other avenues. But the restaurant business always just pulling me back. So I made a decision with my wife, and I said, 2.5 years ago, I said, honey, it was actually 3.5, 4 years ago, I decided that I wanted to open up my own restaurant.
Right, so why Huntington?
Well,
because, not that there's anything wrong, but it's sort of like, there's so many places when you think about this. The city, there's, Queens.
Well, I was looking in multiple places. I looked in Manhattan. I looked in Long Island City. I looked in Brooklyn. I looked in multiple other places on Long Island. But I had a friend who actually is involved in the town of Huntington. He actually owned a newspaper in town. And he said to me, Alex, you really got to look into Huntington. And I had always considered Huntington a bar-centric town. But the evolution of this town amazed me when I was brought here, and it's become such a restaurant-centric town.
I could see just walking around. Yeah,
the variety of restaurants you have in downtown Huntington surpasses any town on Long Island. You have Persian, you have Indian, you have Afghani, you have Greek, you have Italian, you have American cuisine, you have any type of cuisine you want in downtown Huntington, and you have Greek. And one of the things is, there were 2 Greek restaurants in town, but they're more of your traditional fast food Greek restaurant.
You mean more of the gyro? Yeah.
They do the gyro, they do more fast food style Greek food, where we brought traditional style Greek food. I really felt as if this town was lacking that. It was lacking whole fish. We have 10 to 12 different varieties of whole fish on our menu every day. We do all different types of Greek specialties, and we're what I would say more upscale than the other places in town, and that's the only.
And a lot more healthy,
and much more healthy, and that's
because everything that I was able to deliciously sample today was by and large flavorful and incredibly healthy, which is important because let's face it, my days of eating poorly have to end.
Yeah, and you know what? I gotta tell you, the Mediterranean diet has been around for thousands of years.
And it's kept people alive for thousands of years.
People, like if you really look at the European nations that follow the Mediterranean diet, they have the longest lifespan of any people. So, and that's really a simple way to do things. It's proteins and greens, olive oil.
Healthy oils.
Olive oils. You're getting your omegas from your fish. You're not eating a lot of meat. You're sticking with a lot of fish. You're eating poultry. You're eating cheeses. Things that are, and sometimes Americans think that cheese is not healthy, but it's all in moderation. And we really adhere to that. Like I do a lunch special where you get a salad and a protein, but a healthy protein, a grilled salmon, grilled chicken, grilled octopus, things like that with a nice salad, romaine hearts, tomatoes, cucumber, feta cheese. And a lot of ladies and women come into town, and they come down, they have their protein, their green, a glass of wine, and they've really covered all the boundaries of the health spectrum.
And not only that, but the glass of wine actually has a resveratrol, which is actually good. My great-grandfather, my father's father, lived to 103. And he said that the secret to a long life was to have an apple and a glass of wine every day. So,
wine is a big part of the European way of life. And even young children, they have their wine at a younger age because not only do they say it's good for you to have a little wine every day, but then what it also does is it doesn't create the
taboo.
That taboo of, now when mom and dad aren't around, I'm going to have some wine.
Oh, it's true, because let's face it, we grew up, at least my brother and I, I'll speak for us, because, there was all this liquor in the house that no one actually drank, but it was always there. People brought for presents a bottle of wine, this and that. And I remember it was always there. And because it was not really a big deal, and we always had sort of wine on religious holidays and things like that, it wasn't really a big deal. So we didn't really think it was anything more than just almost like another piece of furniture in the house, know?
And I basically felt the same way. In my house, like you said, it was always brought for holidays and special occasions, but it was always there. It was always part of our way of growing up, so it wasn't that taboo thing. So going back to the food aspect, certain things need to work together, and the Mediterranean diet has kind of sectioned it out. Proteins, greens, oils, cheeses. And if you really look at the food pyramid, those are all things that are in the food pyramid that are healthy for you. And we really stick to that. When we cook, we grill it. We grill most of our food.
Right, supposed to fry, yeah.
We avoid the frying. We do a lot of grilling with olive oil, lemon, oregano, and it's just a very healthy way to eat.
So let me ask you this. When you talked about cheese before, I think the reason why I think people think that cheese is not necessarily healthy is that the bad cheeses that are out there, not to be disparaging, is sort of like processed cheese.
Correct.
Now, I had a delicious feta. It was creamy. It was smooth. Tell me about that, because that I've gone to a lot of places, and sometimes the feta is just kind of crumbly, salty, kind of feels low grade. This was really delicious.
Well, you're not the first person who's
It was almost like cream cheese to describe it. To describe it on the radio, it's almost like a very
it's smooth.
It's very
smooth, creamy feta cheese. And you're not the first person who's eaten in this restaurant to tell me that. And they beg me to tell them where I get my cheese, and I can't.
Oh, you get it here.
But
you get it
I'm
here?
very lucky because I have a purveyor that provides me my cheese that only a few people have. And
it's awesome. By the way, I love feta and eggs. That's one of my favorite breakfasts. You get like some fried eggs with feta, and it's awesome. And the kind of feta that you'd have would be absolutely perfect.
Well, you know what? Before the night's done, I'm going to give you something to take home.
There you go. But I remember just like a little feta. I know that growing up, I used to always have basically either feta or kashkaval. Mm-hmm. That was like the two. And then, do you guys make tarama?
We do make tarama.
Okay, because now for those who don't know tarama is a Greek caviar.
Correct. It's a fish roe that we whip up in puree, and we make it into a beautiful spread. And we use a little bread, a little olive oil, a little lemon, and it's just awesome.
And what I always love to do is when you, like for breakfast, you have sort of like a beautiful cup of coffee, a little tarama, and some fried eggs with feta cheese. You've started the day like $1 million.
Oh yeah, you can't even get. We're written up for our tarama. People love and they've given us great reviews about our tarama because not many people actually make it anymore, and they don't make it the traditional way.
Right.
And we make it that way. We make it the way my grandma taught me how to make it.
I remember when my grandmother used to make it. It is the way that you do it is. The way that you guys do it, I could tell, is that painstaking, labor-intensive way of doing things. Doing it the old-fashioned way, making it right. And I guess, a lot of people now, we live in such a fast-paced society that it's just give me something, microwave it, and I'll swallow it and run.
Yeah.
And we've lost the ability, I think, to enjoy food, too. Well, as a society.
As a society, yes. We've become such a fast-paced society that we've kind of forgotten that good quality things take time. And the time that you put into it is what comes out on the plate. And as a result of the time and effort we put into what we make here, it presents itself on the plate. You look at your food and go, wow, this is what it's supposed to taste like, or this is what it's supposed to look like. And that's a big part. Food isn't only just...
Yeah, you eat with your eyes, too.
Yeah, you
Absolutely.
eat with your eyes. You eat also, you eat with your ears. You eat with your whole body. It's a whole, it's an experience. And we've tried to create that, not only to have great food, but great ambiance. And also...
I love the music, by the way.
Great. Yeah, and we on Wednesday nights, we happen to have traditional Greek music being played live. We always play live traditional old Greek music in the background. Our music's piped straight from Greece.
Oh, wow.
We use Greek radio stations, and we pipe those into the restaurant, and it's just things that my grandfather would listen to, my grandmother, my mother, and my father. Music that I grew up with. And not to say that the new music of Greek music isn't wonderful, but I really like to stick to my roots.
Well, it is. You can't help but feeling sort of memories of childhood. Because, that was like a special time in all of our lives when we were at our grandparents' knees and you were treated specially because you were the grandkid and all of these things like that. So then when you get to sort of relive the feeling of being at grandma's knee and eating the food, it brings back like the best parts of your life almost, when life was sort of young and innocent. So I definitely get that.
Well, I was very lucky to have had my extended family living with me growing up.
See, I think that's so cool. A lot of people don't realize the treasure it is to have multi-generations not only do you get like the babysitting, but you get the cooking instruction, you get the family unity, you get all that great stuff, all together. So where did you guys all live together?
Well, we grew up in Port Washington.
Okay.
So I had my grandmother, my grandfather from Greece come stay with us at our house, and they lived in our house, and I even had sometimes my uncles living with us at other times of their lives, and so I was exposed to all multi-generations of one family, and we also, every summer was spent in Greece, so I got to spend with both sides of my family, so I really got to enjoy what the Greek life was all about.
What part of Greece is your family from?
Well, my father is from Kastoria,
okay,
and my mother is from a village called Thiva,
okay,
which is a little outside of Athens. Kastoria is in northern Greece,
yeah,
and Thiva is a little outside of Athens, about 45 minutes now, but years ago, because the roads weren't good, it used to be like 2 hours.
So how'd they meet? I always like to know these kinds of things.
They actually met here in the States. They met through a friend. They were introduced, and
that was the old way of doing things.
Yes,
yeah.
correct.
Well, was it? All of my ancestors are from Greece too, and I know that my father's parents it was an arranged marriage, because in the Greek Jewish community, people kind of said, this one would be good with that one, and they kind of knew what they were doing, and apparently it worked. They really took a lot of time to. It was a small community. They kind of just knew what to do.
Well, those age-old traditions, were very popular in Greece, and even in the States for those Greek Americans, not first generation, but the newly immigrated Greeks, were a lot of arranged marriages. But my mother and father met just through friends. It wasn't an arranged marriage, but let me tell you, they were a wonderful couple, and they really lived the American dream. Came here with nothing, and we were able.
And worked hard. They worked very hard.
Worked very, very hard, and they provided for their kids. And we went from living in Port Washington, eventually moving into Sands Point, and I had everything that I could ever ask for. But this was through hard work and effort, and no lack of. They really worked hard.
So speaking of hard work, tell me about what it's like to get up. You probably get up at like some kind of ungodly hour to get to the fish market, because I'm sure. What do you get up at like 2 a.m. or something
Actually,
like that?
Most people ask that. What I do usually is I work the day at the restaurant, and then I wait till about midnight, and I drive to the Hunts Point market area. And the market actually opens, the fish market that I start my night off at starts at 1 o'clock. That's when it opens up to people to buy. So I spend about 35 minutes to 40 minutes walking around the market, pricing out product, and then I see what people have that's fresh and what's best at the market, and I pick out what I feel is best available. And that's why my menu changes a lot, because when I go to the market, I'm not stuck to a set menu. I will only put on what is fresh. So I do that 3 times a week.
Wow. What days a week do you do that?
Well, it varies. It all depends on what I need and when I need it. So I constantly mix it up.
Also? Yeah.
No. It depends on what we grow through. If I go through certain fish, I need to go to the market, I'll go get it. I have my own truck. I do my own buying. I don't rely on a middleman. I handle everything. And I don't not only do that for my fish, I do that for my meats and my vegetables.
Wow. All right, this is Richard Solomon. We are talking about Neraki, Neraki, Neraki.com, 631-385-FISH. We got to take a quick break. Keep it locked in, 88.1 FM, tcbradio.com. We'll be right back. All right, Richard Solomon, taking care of business, tcbradio.com. We are at Neraki in Huntington, in Suffolk County, Long Island. So, greetings, everybody. This is part 2 of our show. If you didn't get the phone number for this delicious restaurant of traditional Greek food, 631-385-FISH, which is 3474. And I'm here with Alex. Now, before the break, we were talking about going to the market, getting fresh fish, getting fresh vegetables. But one question I've always had, and I am the grandson of fruit and vegetable merchants, and I look at my parents, and they pick vegetables like scientists. They look at things, they squeeze, they smell. They know exactly what they're looking for. I actually don't. I don't know how to pick a good melon. I don't know how to pick a good fish. I kind of just. I guess I'm one of those typical American shoppers that buys the stuff at the supermarket as is. So you got to tell me what are the secrets to really picking a nice good fish and some good vegetables.
Well, one of the most important things is going to the right place to buy fish, and the Fulton Fish Market at Hunts Point is the best place in the world to buy fish.
Why is that?
Well, more fish come through that location than any other place in the world.
Where do the fish actually come from? Are they local waters? Are they flown in? Is it everything?
There are fish coming from all over. Local waters, fish coming from Europe, from Japan, from everywhere. There's fish from South America. Anywhere you can think of, there's fish coming in from. So you have the best variety of fish to choose from. And that's why I go there, because it allows me the opportunity to see all different types of fish and see what other people are doing, what types of fish they're buying, and I'm able to kind of have a variety of fish that you might not find anywhere else.
For example, like what?
Well, some of the fish that I have porgies, red snapper, I have bronzini, I have
bronzini is a great fish, yeah.
Yeah, bronzini, or in Greek, lavraki. It's one of the most popular fish that we serve in the restaurant. We serve all our fish whole, and what we do is, and what I do is, when I go to the market, I'm looking for specific things to buy, and certain characteristics of the fish to look for.
For example, what do you look for Like, I know that my mother tells me that the eyes are supposed to be clear and it's supposed to smell like, I think, seawater or cucumber or something like that.
Well, the eyes being clear is one of them. But there's a lot of other things that you need to look for. You need to touch the fish. You need to check the firmness of the flesh. If it's nice and firm, it really means that it's a fresh fish. Another thing is you look at the gills. If the gill blood is nice and red, that means it's freshly caught. If it's brown or black, that means it's an older.
Festering.
It's been around for a little while. It's basically coagulating, and it becomes brown. So, and you smell is another important thing. If the fish smells like fish, don't buy it. It should smell clean. It should smell, honestly, shouldn't really smell like much of anything other than what it's kept in, and that is seawater or regular ice water.
So if it smells fishy, it's probably not a good idea to grab it?
It's not a very good idea. I would stay away from it.
See, it's funny because I just assume that's fish are supposed to smell fishy.
Well, the after products of fish smell fishy, when they're cleaning and things like that, but the actual fish itself shouldn't smell like fish.
Well, I remember my father telling me a story about my father's mother, that my grandfather gave her a bag of smelts to cook, and when she opened up the bag, they were still moving, so she kind of freaked out. But that's fresh, though.
Well, that's one of the things. There's a product called atherina or sparing that I buy, and when I buy them and they sell them in buckets, 5-gallon buckets, I won't buy them unless I see a few of them moving around in that bucket. So, that's something that I adhere to when I go buying for certain fish. Other fish, they're getting shipped from all over the world, so they're shipped in planes on ice and never frozen. And that's one of the things that I'm very proud of, is that we serve whole, beautiful fish in this restaurant. You can come and look at my display, and I could have 10 different whole fish in the restaurant. I do have fillets, but my fillets are, if available, I use local flounder, I use local tuna, local swordfish, local monkfish, local black sea bass. So I try and use local fish as much as I possibly can, but when seasons do change, they're not caught locally anymore, and the fish in themselves move, so they come from different areas of the country.
Now, I noticed you had something on your menu that I've never seen before, which was you had a Greek snapper.
Oh yes, that's called fagri. Fagri is a beautiful fish. It's a very traditional Greek fish. It's a large fish. We serve that whole. What we do is we grill it over our charcoal grill. We prepare it very simply with a little olive oil, lemon, oregano. We put it on our grill in a fish cage, which prevents the fish from actually sticking to the hot grill. And
yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
So,
I've seen that like at Elias's Corner. Yeah.
Correct. Yes,
Yeah.
you'll see that at Elias Corner, and I learned that type of style of cooking fish from him, because what I did was, before I opened my restaurant, I actually went and worked back in my uncle's restaurant, Elias Corner, and I studied every aspect of the business. I started working in the kitchen. I did a little prep work. I did a little grill work. I ran the front of the house. I would go with him to the market to learn how to buy, and he would show me all his little tricks. And he's been doing it for over 30 years. He knows what he's doing when it comes to fish. And most people know Elias Corner and the name that he has. So, I'm very...
He hasn't aged in 30 years. I've been going there for years and years and years, because I don't live that far, and I don't think the man has aged a day. Maybe it's eating all that fish and vegetables. I don't know.
Well, he does have a good diet, so he does follow that Mediterranean diet pretty well. So yeah, he hasn't changed much in all those years.
Now, when you cook for yourself at home, do you cook differently, or do you cook different stuff because it's just maybe something a little faster, maybe something a little bit, more different?
Well, you know what? I'm very blessed to have a family that loves to cook. Not only did my family and my mother, but now my wife's family, it comes from a line of restaurateurs also.
Oh, wow.
So I have a father-in-law that's been in the restaurant business for 40 years. So he cooks a lot for us. He'll bring food to us, and my wife is an excellent cook. She cooks all different types of Greek food, but more home cooked style.
Like what? Like
oven
what?
Food. We do a lot of like pasticcio. We'll do lamb. We'll do things like that at home. That we do here, but it's more often at home.
Right.
So it's more traditional Greek style cooking, and I've been blessed to be surrounded by so many wonderful cooks. My grandmother, my mother, my wife's family, father, mother-in-law, they're all great cooks.
You drink the Greek coffee at home?
To be honest with you, if I drank the Greek coffee, you couldn't turn me off for a week. So I don't drink it that often. So
you know what's interesting? I kind of think that the Greek coffee is much more interesting than like the sort of like Colombian coffee, and I guess people are not really used to it. But when you drink sort of the Greek coffee, people look at this like there's no milk and there's no this, there's that. But I think it's actually kind of creamier and it's got much more a taste.
Well, in all reality, you're really drinking the coffee for the coffee. You're not watering it down. You're not milking it down. You're not sugaring it up. But you do cook it with. Some people do boil it out with some sugar. There's different varieties. There's sketo, which means plain. There's metrio, which means medium sugar.
That's what I like.
There's glyko, which means sweet. So you add the sugar into it while you're cooking it, so it actually melts the sugar down. And you'll notice after you drink Greek coffee, there's something like sludge at the bottom.
Yes, because it's unfiltered.
It's unfiltered, and it's a very finely ground coffee. So what happens is it gets boiled out, boils up to a head, and then you slowly pour it into what you call your little cup.
Yeah.
And you let it settle, and then you drink it. You drink the top, and then when you get to the bottom, you'll see unfiltered coffee.
Yeah, you know when you've hit the mud,
Yeah, you know when you've hit that mud.
But you know what's interesting about Greek coffee? It really is the perfect partner to cookies and the Greek desserts like the kouloudia and the other things.
Yeah, the kouloudia and the loukoumades and all different types of things, koularakia. Those are things that I grew up eating all the time because my grandmother and my mom would make them on a regular basis. So I was lucky. So
let's talk about the desserts. All right. What? Because for people who don't know, what are these different desserts? What do you call them, and what do they consist of?
Well, in my restaurant, we make all our desserts here. Let's start with one of the more popular ones is baklava.
Oh yeah.
Now that's a very rich, sweet dessert. It's made with walnuts. It's made with phyllo dough, simple syrup, and butter, and it's layer upon layer of heaven. Okay, that's the baklava.
And the coffee just is perfect to wash it down.
Oh yeah, it complements it really well. Then another one that we make, we make a sponge cake. It's called karidopita, and karidia are walnuts, and it's a dark sponge cake. It's got like a spicy flavor to it, but it's made again with a simple syrup, and it's just it's a nice, sweet, tasty cake. And then we make something called galata burico.
Is that galatopta?
Okay,
we call it galata. I love galatopta.
Yeah.
You got to talk about galatopta.
Galata burico is what it is it's phyllo and a custard, a semolina-based custard. And we
it's like brown on the top, right?
Oh yeah, it gets browned in the oven when we bake.
I love that. Yeah.
And that is actually one of our more popular desserts. And all these desserts that I'm mentioning we make in the restaurant. The only thing that we don't make in the restaurant is our ice cream.
Right, because I guess that's a little hard. Yeah.
And then we also do a wonderful Greek yogurt covered in sour cherries, which actually are imported from Greece.
Oh, I know. They're in the jar with the gold top with like the label on the side. Yeah. I go to Mediterranean Foods to get the sour cherries. Yeah.
And we bring those in and we use those on dessert. We also do that yogurt with honey and walnuts, so you have options.
Okay. So it's very typical. I love that stuff. In fact, I probably don't go to the places that you go. You probably go to the really good places, but I go to some of the places like in Astoria or in Whitestone or Bayside to try to get sort of like, either the Caludia or the Kashkaval, the cheese, or the feta cheese, or to get the Caludia. There used to be a great bakery in Astoria called the Salonica Bakery, and they made great stuff because I would get that on the way to Elias's Corner.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, hey, listen, you can't beat Astoria for the variety of Greek and ethnic foods. And, originally mostly Greek foods, but now Astoria has evolved, and there's more and more other ethnicities living in Astoria. So you're seeing their delis and their bakeries spring up, and you can get just about anything in Astoria. Right,
but to get like sort of the raw materials for Greek food, Astoria is definitely still a key destination.
Yeah, I use a purveyor by the name of Krinos.
Oh, I know Krinos, sure.
Krinos does
on Northern Boulevard, sort of like Long Island City.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, they
sell their barrels, I think.
Oh, they sell. I get my olives from them and certain things from them, oils, because they import them directly from Greece, and I'm able to access Greek products through them, and they're one of my purveyors that I use, and they're the staple in me being able to bring traditional Greek style food to the customers that come to my restaurant in Huntington, because without them I wouldn't have the supplies I needed to cook. And these are things that my grandmother, when we were in Greece, she would wait for the local farmer to ring his bell and bring his cart that was pulled by a donkey, and she would run out with a bucket and she would barter or trade, and she would get vegetables and oils and milk, and buy unpasteurized milk in little
with the cream on the top,
little metal containers, and that's the way she bought things. And that's kind of, in today's day and age, that's basically what I do by going to the Hunts Point markets, to the vegetable market, to the seafood market, to the meat market, and pick out my product for my customers in the restaurant.
So this is just flying. We only have a minute, so let's do this. Let me just give a quick idea here. The restaurant to go to is Neraki, Neraki.com on the web, so it's Neraki. They are at 273 Main Street in Huntington, 631-385-3474 is their phone number, but if you're driving and you just want that quick reminder, it's 631-385-FISH, which is a really good thing. It's amazing how fast this show goes. So we're going to take a quick break in a second. This is Richard Solomon taking care of business. If you have if you're just in love with Greek food, traditional Greek food, especially fresh fish and all the things we've been talking about, this is the place to check out. We do have to take a hard break, so we'll be right back after this. Keep it locked in. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for listening, as always. Thank you for being a part of my radio family. And part of today's radio family are the restaurateurs of Neraki in Huntington. Now, Where exactly in Huntington are we? Because, I'm more west of here.
Well, the restaurant's 273 Main Street, but the easiest way...
That's Northern Boulevard, right?
Well, yeah, you could say Northern Boulevard.
Because I know Northern Boulevard.
But when it travels through certain towns, they name the streets differently, but it's 273 Main Street. We're on the north side of the street, between Wall Street and New York Avenue, right across street from Marsh's. Marsh's has been a downtown staple of Huntington. Most people have bought their first suit when they were little kids at Marsh's. So,
okay.
And now look what it's evolved to. It's probably one of the biggest, most successful department stores owned by a great family that does clothing.
I see that, this time of the year, the place is all lit up. It's all nice. And there's a lot of traffic down here. There's like a lot of foot traffic, a lot of people walking around.
Oh, yeah. Downtown Huntington's got a lot of activity and action. There's so much to do. We have a variety of restaurants, shopping, downtown tourist spots. We have a museum.
What's the museum?
Heckscher Museum in Heckscher Park, which is right down this way. We've got a lot of things.
I know we're close to Sagamore Hill.
Yeah, there's Sagamore Hill.
My parents like that place.
There's Condrey Hall. There's Oheka Castle.
Oh, yeah. I was at the Long Island Music Hall of Fame Awards were at Oheka Castle, and I covered that for the radio a number of years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things to do in town. We're down by the water, so you have a lot of marinas and things like that, within walking distance of downtown Huntington, so there's a lot to do in town.
Right. All right, but I have to ask, do you have metaxa at the bar?
Oh, I have metaxa, I have ouzo, I have tsipuro, very traditional Greek beverages. We really, those are things that I grew up with in my house, and I remember my grandpa drinking his metaxa and enjoying it.
Okay, so for the people who don't know, what is metaxa?
I would say it's
like a cognac?
It's a Greek style cognac. And for those who've never had it, think of turpentine with a little kick.
It's funny. I always remembered growing up that it was a big deal if somebody came to your house and they brought you a bottle of metaxa. Was it like the 5 stars or the 7 stars?
Yeah, there's all different types. Right. And that's also the ouzos, the 5, the 7, and then there's the metaxas. Basically, for every star, it's a grade. It gets better.
It's it's smoother or something.
Yeah,
like
so when someone really liked you, they bought you like the 7-star one.
Right. I remember. Yeah, I remember like we got one like a 7-star metaxa, and I was like, that's a cool gift.
Yeah, that person really liked you, and they spent a little extra money on you.
Yeah, exactly. And you have a whole variety of ouzos?
We have 2. We have ouzo 7 and Polmari. Those are the 2 that we carry. And the reason being is that I find that those are the 2 that I like the most.
Okay.
And being that we're in downtown Huntington, there aren't that many Greeks.
Yeah.
Those Greeks do know those ouzos, and those are the ones.
That's what they like. Yeah. Now, just to tell a quick personal story, because I always like to tell stories. That's, I guess, what I do on the radio for me, is I remember my parents telling me about my father's parents who actually made their own ouzo. They made it, Neraki, and they made it, I guess, during Prohibition, because there was no place to buy raki, so that's what they bought. So it's kind of cool to have that kind of tradition. So you have a beautiful bar, you have a beautiful space. Do you do like little parties and stuff like that? Because the Greek synagogue that I belong to, which is the only Greek synagogue actually in the Western Hemisphere, I'd love to just jam everybody in here and have the bar open. For the ouzo. Well,
we have a full bar. It's a pretty big bar. We have beer, wine, sodas at the restaurant, but we also have all different types of liquors, as we were talking about, but we do parties. We do more intimate, 25, 30 people, because the restaurant isn't that big, so we like to be able to control what goes on in the restaurant. We don't want to make it overcrowded for people. It's a nice-sized restaurant. We offer a variety of different...
Very spacious, and it's it's very open. And, I love your ceiling, too. Well,
the ceiling...
Who designed that?
I actually did.
I'm thinking, you know what? You get a big kudo for that, because... I don't really. Maybe you could describe it, because it's hard to describe, but it looks like I'm outdoors.
Well, the whole point of this restaurant, the name Neraki means water.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Neror.
Well, Nero is a way of saying water, but when you say it in an endearing way to a child, it would be like a grandmother saying to a little infant, "Would you like water?" In English, you change the inflection of your voice,
right?
But in Greek, you actually change the wordage, the way the word is said, Neraki, and it's an endearing way to say water. And so what we tried to do was we tried to create an open, airy look. So we felt we wanted to be like you were looking up out of the water and up into the sky. So that's why this ceiling is trayed the way it is, and it has a sky painted right down the middle that I actually painted myself.
Wow, I feel like I need the Greek fisherman hat or something like that to just kind of like cruise along. Speaking of spirits, do you have Greek wine here?
We have a large variety of Greek wines. We have about 5 to 6 Greek red wines. We have Makedoniko, Hadzi Michali. We have Papianakos in the Greeks, and then we have a number of Greek wines, white wines. We try to pick wines that would complement the type of food that we serve in the restaurant. So I really try to represent a variety of Greek wines in the restaurant at a reasonable price, so people can have the opportunity to try some of the oldest grapes in the world.
So wait, what is different about Greek wine as opposed to California wine, French wine, wine from New Zealand?
Okay, well, one thing that you'll find about Greek wines is the grape varieties aren't what we normally know.
You mean like the Merlot?
It's not like Merlot. The Greek wines, they are have multiple names, and most Americans aren't used to those names. They're not used to the types of the grape varieties, because the grape varieties are sometimes named after the people from the vineyards. Like we have a wine that's called Erithos. It's from Papagiannakos. It's from Peloponnesus. We have Limnio. We have all different types of wines, and some people might not know the wine, but it could be similar to a Cabernet Sauvignon, could be similar to a Merlot, but it doesn't have the same grape varietal name.
So if I'm eating a piece of fish, because I need some education here. Let's say I had the branzini, and it was just delicious. Mm-hmm. If I were to have had a glass of wine with it, and what should I be? Is it? Do you pick white? Do you pick red? Does it matter?
Well, traditionally speaking, most people do go with a white wine with fish, because it's just, they go well together. And one of the wines that I really enjoy is Moscofilo Butari. It's a very popular Greek brand of wine, and the reason why we picked it is because it's crisp, it's refreshing, and it complements fish very, very, very well. Now, if you're having a lamb or something like that we serve in the restaurant, I would probably go with our Hadzi Michali, which is a Cabernet Sauvignon similar grape. So you have wines that are Greek that aren't the same names as the Americans or the French or so on and so forth, but same flavor. It's just a different varietal of wine grape name.
And do you also have Greek beer?
We do. We have.
Okay, because the Greeks are not necessarily known for beer, but I've had Greek beer, and they're quite good.
Yeah, we carry 2 Greek beers.
Is that like Mythos?
We carry 2 Greek bottled beers. We have Mythos and Aris.
Okay.
One's a little lighter and one's a little darker. So the Mythos is a little darker beer.
I like darker beer.
Yeah, the Aris is a little lighter.
It's funny. I went to Iceland a number of years ago. And it's interesting, on one part of the island of Iceland, they drink Viking beer. But and then I guess that's where the factory is. And then if you're not part of that part of the country, then you drink Iglis. And those are like the 2 brands of local beer,
Well, there's a lot of actual Greek beers, but those are the 2 that we decided.
That seem to come here.
Yeah, that come into the restaurant.
So if you're having a perfect meal here, I guess I should ask about lamb, because no Greek restaurant conversation should exclude lamb. You make leg of lamb?
We do leg of lamb in the wintertime. During the summer months, we stick to the traditional lamb chops. And we do oven-baked leg of lamb during the winter with potatoes and simple olive oil, herbs and spices and garlic and lemon. And it's just
Okay, so cooking secret. How do you get lamb to be tender? What's the secret? And what's the secret to make it tender? And if you don't want to give that secret away because you have to come here, then what do you not do to destroy it?
Well, first things first, cook at a low temperature for a long period of time. Rome wasn't built in a day, and a leg of lamb wasn't cooked in an hour.
Okay.
You got to take your time.
Maybe you should put that on your website.
You got to take your time when cooking lamb, and you constantly got to marinate it, spoon marinate it, so that you keep it moist. You put enough garlic in there so that when you happen to hit a piece, you just opens up the senses and you're just in love with the garlic and the flavor of the lamb. We actually cook our potatoes in the same broth that the lamb is cooked in.
Oh, juicy, yeah.
So it's just wonderful. And again, it's cooking it for over a long period of time at a low temperature. So you cook it through and through, so if the outside doesn't get too burnt, and it cooks straight through. Because if you try and cook it at too high of a temperature and too short of a time, it's going to burn and sear the outside, and then the inside is going to be blood red.
So when you cook potatoes, what's a good guiding principle for people who are trying to cook the potatoes in a Greek style way?
Well, the lemon potatoes.
I love lemon potatoes.
Okay, first things first, fresh potatoes. You got to peel them. One thing that I do is I blanch them.
What was that? You boil them?
I put them in water and keep get the starch out a little.
Okay. My father does that. I thought he does this so they don't turn brown.
Yes, that's another thing to do. And then what you do is you cut them into long ways. You don't cut them into small. You don't try and cook the whole potato all at once. You cook them into what I would say is wedges. Okay. You cut them into wedges, and then you're using fresh olive oil, herbs and spices, lemon, water, and you slow cook them again, and that's what makes the difference. If you try and rush anything, quality food isn't done overnight. It's done with love, and you learn it over years. And the way my grandmother taught me, and my father and my father-in-law and my mother is take your time when cooking, because that's when the food will come out best.
You know what I love? There's nothing more flavorful to me than to take a lemon potato and then dip it into tzatziki sauce. I love that. I can't help myself.
Well, you definitely have an interesting palate, because I actually do that too myself. I actually do that with our Neraki fries, which are hand-cut French fries, round medallion French fries, and we give everyone a side of tzatziki sauce, and people dip it in there, and they say, wow, this is such an unbelievable combination of Greek yogurt, cucumber, and garlic, and then throwing it on a potato, fried French fry, and they're like, this is a little...
It's awesome, yeah.
It's a little bit of heaven.
What is your formula for making like a good tzatziki sauce?
Quality yogurt.
Right. A Greek yogurt?
A Greek yogurt, of course.
Full fat?
Full fat.
Full fat, okay.
Okay, and also straining your cucumber.
So it's not watery.
Yeah, if you don't strain the cucumber through cheesecloth let it sit and let the water drain out of it, it becomes watery and soggy.
I've had watery tzatziki, yeah.
And the other thing is sticking to your guns and not putting sour creams and things like that in it, because a lot of restaurants will cut corners. They don't want to spend the money on using good quality Greek yogurt, so they'll do a half and half mix.
Oh, I see.
And
it dilutes it. Yeah.
It dilutes it, and it's a cost-saving way of doing it, but we don't do it that way. We use good quality Greek yogurt, cucumber, and fresh garlic.
Okay. Do you use any vinegar?
A little vinegar, a little salt, but those are just to add enhance the flavor.
Way back when, I remember my parents telling me that when they were kids, that their parents actually made yogurt, and they actually made it sort of like it would sit on the radiator in the apartments in the Bronx, and they would always use, I think, when it was some of the last batch. I guess they needed the culture to make the next batch.
Correct. Yeah, that's something that if you can do that, that's something that's really a nice thing to do, to use the last batch, the last culture, to start the next culture of yogurt.
All right, so give me, because it's like amazing how fast radio can fly when you're having a great time and in a great environment with a phenomenal guest. Let's go through what would be sort of an ideal meal. I come in. I go to the bar and I have my Greek beer to start.
Yeah, you can start off with a nice Greek beer. After you're at the bar, then you can sit down at the table and you're going to get a great little plate of fresh cooked pita with tzatziki on the side to start you off that we give complimentary. Then I would recommend maybe trying our octopus, which for those who have not had octopus at Neraki, you'll be in for a surprise when you taste our octopus. It's not rubbery, it's tender, it's flavorful. I use the best octopus the world has to offer. It's either Portuguese or Spanish octopus. So you can start with a little octopus. You get a Greek salad.
I loved your Greek salad.
Yeah, we do.
And the great feta.
Yeah, we do a great Greek salad. We use romaine hearts, beautiful tomatoes, cucumbers, feta cheese. You'll get a nice grape leaves, doma.
Yeah, I love grape leaves. Yeah.
So you go to that next. And then if you want to try a nice entree, I would recommend the beautiful bronzini. We cook them whole, again, on the charcoal grill, olive oil, lemon, oregano, simply prepared. Get a side of rice with that. And then you get a nice dessert.
A little wine with that?
Oh, if you're going to get a wine, like I said before, I would recommend the Moscofilo de Butari. It's a very reasonably priced, nice tasting, crisp, clean white wine.
Okay. And then for dessert, Greek coffee?
Then you do a nice Greek coffee, or you can even do a frappe. And then you cap it off with a great dessert. You can have our baklava or galato buriko, or one of our Greek desserts that's based upon our yogurt. You do it with Greek yogurt, little sour cherries, or honey and walnuts.
Wow. And then after your meal, you can walk up and down Main Street in Huntington, do a little window shopping, walk off the meal, and get in your car and go home.
No, yeah, you can't beat downtown Huntington. It's the best place to have a business and a restaurant, especially. We're very lucky to be in this town. It's a great place to do business in.
All right, so if you heard the ideal menu and you didn't catch it, I guess for all those people listening, just say, "Hey, I want to have the menu that you mentioned on the radio," and you'll remember.
Anytime. That's something that I recommend to people all the time.
You know, I had the food, and it was absolutely delicious from beginning to end, and I loved every morsel, and I can't wait to personally be back with my family and the people from my community. So I guess with that, wow, the time flies. So for everybody out there, if you missed the show, you can catch us on YouTube, TCB Radio, WCWP on YouTube. If you need the phone number, we're at Neraki, 631-385-FISH, which is 631-385-3474. If it all fails, you can always send us an email, tcbradio, WCWP at yahoo.com, and I'll have you hooked up. Ask for Alex, tell him you heard us on the radio, and that you want to be part of the food experience, the Greek food experience. So with that, this is Richard Solomon. We got to run, we got to scoot. See you in a week. Be safe and have a good week.